Every experienced Jeep owner has a few tools they refuse to hit the trail without. Because when something breaks, gets stuck, goes flat, or starts shaking at 60 miles per hour, the right tool can save you hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Here are 12 Amazon Jeep tools every owner should keep in the garage. First up at number 12 is the Mopar Torque Set. And no, a regular Phillips head won't cut it. Jeep engineers stamped T50 right into the door hinge of every modern Wrangler, almost like they're begging you to buy the right tool. Your front JL door weighs around 48 pounds. The rear doors come in around 45 pounds each. Try yanking those off with the wrong driver, and you'll strip the bolt, scratch the paint, or drop a 50-pound aluminum slab on your foot. The official Mopar kit, part number 683615574AB, runs about $25 to $30 on Amazon. It comes with a Jeep logo ratchet, a long T40 bit for the hardtop, a short T50 for the doors, a T30 for the soft top, and a 15mm socket. Third-party kits like the Elon tool pouch do the same job for less. The hidden detail almost nobody mentions? Most generic torque sets at Home Depot stop at T40. The T50 is the exact size you need for the doors, and standard hardware store kits skip it on purpose. So if you've been wondering why your toolbox doesn't have what your Jeep needs, that's why. However, this torque set is the cheapest fix on the list. What's coming next quietly destroys more Jeeps than any other shop mistake in America. Sliding into number 11 is the Tecton Torque Wrench, model 24335 to be exact, the half-inch click type that ranges from 10 to 150 foot-pounds, about $50 on Amazon. This single tool stops a problem most owners don't even know is happening to them. The verified spec from the JL Wrangler Owner's Manual says lug nuts torque to 130 foot-pounds. The older JK and TJ Wranglers spec around 95 to 100. The spare tire nut only needs 59. Crack that with a regular wrench and you'll snap the plastic carrier clean off. But the real horror story lives at the dealership. A Wrangler forum owner posted this word for word. After a routine tire rotation, several of his lug nuts wouldn't budge at 220 foot-pounds. And that's not a typo. 220 foot-pounds of over-torque is the kind of damage that warps brake rotors, shears wheel studs, and strands you on the shoulder of the highway with a tire iron and a prayer. The Tecton 24335 ships preset, holds plus or minus 4% accuracy, and lives in a hard case. One pro tip the box doesn't mention. Always store the wrench dialed back down to 10 foot-pounds. The spring inside loses its setting if you leave it cranked at 150. However, even a perfectly torqued wheel won't save you from a problem hiding inside your spare tire right now. Rolling into number 10 is the Boulder Tools Tire Plug Kit. 56 pieces, about $25 to $35 on Amazon, lifetime warranty. This little orange case is what decides whether your Saturday trail run ends at the campfire or in a tow truck. You're 3 miles down a fire road in Moab when a piece of sandstone slices your sidewall. The spare's mounted under the back, the trail's too narrow to swing it down, and your phone has 0 bars. A plug kit fixes that puncture in under 5 minutes without taking the tire off the wheel. The Boulder Tools kit ships with a real steel T-handle reamer, a needle insertion tool, a spare needle, 30 heavy-duty brown plug strings, lubricant, a utility knife, valve stems and cores, plus a tire pressure gauge. AutoGuide reviewers called out the pliers as the upgrade nobody talks about. Cheap kits use thin plier-shaped tin that snaps under load. These are real pliers that yank a stubborn nail right out of a tread block. The one thing missing from the kit is a pair of gloves. Always throw some in yourself, because plugging a hot tire after a long highway run will burn your fingers fast. However, plugging a tire is useless if you can't put air back into it afterward. Which is exactly why item number 9 is the one most Jeep owners forget to buy until a cold trail at dusk reminds them. That brings us to number 9, the ARBEZ Deflator. Model ARB 505, around $40 to $50. And this little brass gauge is the reason real off-roaders make it through sand washes that swallow stock Jeeps whole. What almost no first-time owner understands is this. Highway tire pressure on a Wrangler runs about 35 to 39 psi. But the second your tires touch a real trail, you need to drop them to 15 to 20 pounds per square inch for rocks and dirt, and as low as 12 to 15 for sand. Lower pressure spreads the tire's footprint wider. More rubber on the ground means more grip, a softer ride, and tires that bend around sharp rocks instead of getting punctured by them. The ARBEZ deflator has a special design that unscrews the valve core right out of the stem. That right there is the actual secret. With the core removed, air dumps out in seconds instead of the slow hiss you get holding down a pin with a key. 4 35-inch tires air down in roughly 2 minutes flat. The gauge body is solid brass, so altitude and temperature don't throw off the reading. There's also a digital version, the ARB510, accurate to 1 psi. However, getting the air out is only half the equation. Putting it back in after a long day on the trail is the real test, and that leads to the most underrated piece of gear on this entire list. Climbing to number 8 is the Viair 88P portable compressor. Model 00088, around 60 to 70 bucks, 12 volts, 120 psi max, rated for tires up to 33 inches. The 4.75-pound 88P is what nobody talks about until they're sitting in a campground at sunset with 4 flat tires and a dead pump. Viair has been making compressors since 1998 and basically owns the portable compressor market in the off-road world. The 88P draws 20 amps, clamps straight to your battery with alligator clips, and fills a 33-inch tire from 15 psi back up to 30 in about 2 minutes and 56 seconds. That's per tire, times all 4 wheels, plus a couple minutes between each one to let the motor cool down. Budget roughly 15 to 18 minutes to air up your whole rig. But the honest catch the Amazon listing buries? The 88P is a medium-duty unit. By the 3rd or 4th tire, it gets hot enough to burn your fingertips. If you run 35-inch tires, step up to the Viair 300P, model 30033, around 100 bucks, 150 psi, with a 33% duty cycle and faster fill times. Either way, keep your engine running while you're pumping. The compressor pulls more current than a parked battery wants to give. But before any of that helps you, you need a way to know what's wrong with your Jeep before you spend a dime on parts. Before we get to the next tool, if you want to avoid the maintenance mistakes that kill Jeeps early, check out the 500,000-mile Jeep Blueprint. It's packed with the service tips, inspections, and preventative maintenance most owners never learn until it's too late. Link is in the description below. Parked at number 7 sits the Foxwell NT301OBD2 scanner, around 40 to 60 bucks. This 40-buck scanner saves you from getting fleeced at a Jeep dealership for a $19 loose gas cap. Every modern Jeep, 1996 and newer, has an OBD2 port tucked under the dash on the driver's side. When the check engine light comes on, that port holds the exact code telling you what's wrong. Walk into a shop without knowing the code, and the diagnostic fee alone runs 120 to 180 bucks before they even pop the hood. The NT301 plugs in, reads and clears trouble codes, shows live data graphs, runs emissions readiness checks with red, yellow, and green LEDs, and pulls freeze frame data so you can see exactly what the engine was doing when the fault tripped. The 2.8-inch color screen is sharp. The built-in code library explains every code in plain English, and Foxwell throws in lifetime free updates. OBD Advisor calls it the best wired OBD2 reader under 60 bucks, and the unit has been a top seller for nearly a decade. But there's an honest catch you should know about. The NT301 only reads engine and powertrain codes. It won't pull ABS, airbag, or tire pressure codes. For those, you'd step up to the Foxwell NT604 Elite. However, knowing what's wrong is one thing. Actually starting your Jeep when the battery dies miles from a paved road is a completely different fight. Sitting at number 6 is the Noco Boost Plus GB40, around 100 bucks on Amazon. 1,000 amps of peak starting current, a 24 watt-hour lithium-ion battery, and the whole thing weighs 2.45 pounds. Smaller than a paperback book, fits in your glove box, and starts gas engines up to 6.0 liters, plus diesels up to 3.0 liters. That covers every Wrangler ever built. Up to 20 jumps on a single charge. Noco's ultra-safe design uses spark-proof tech, which means no current flows until the clamps actually sense a real battery. Connect them backwards and nothing fries. It even doubles as a 100 lumen flashlight with 7 modes and a USB power bank for your phone. IP65 rated, so dust and water won't kill it. Now the verified history most NOCO buyers have no idea about. The company was founded back in 1914 in Cleveland, Ohio, by a man named Joseph Henry Nook. His first invention had nothing to do with jump-starting cars. He developed the world's first battery corrosion preventative, called NCP2, and that one product built the entire NOCO name. NOCO has been family-owned for over 100 years, long before lithium jump-starters even existed. There's also the bigger GB50 at 1,500 amps and 30 jumps per charge for around $150. However, a jump start only helps if your Jeep can actually move. When the front tires are buried to the axle in a swamp, no battery in the world saves you. But item number 5 does. Up at number 5 is the Bubba Rope Kinetic Recovery Rope. The 7/8 inch by 30-foot version, around $120 to $150, braking strength of 28,600 pounds. And forget everything you know about toe straps. This rope works on a completely different principle, and that difference is why it ranks this high on the list. A regular static toe strap just pulls. If your buddy's stuck deep in mud, a static strap transfers maybe 80% of his stuck weight before the pulling truck loses traction too. A kinetic rope works differently. It stretches under load like a giant rubber band, stores energy in the stretch, then snaps back and yanks the stuck vehicle out with pure momentum instead of brute force. One real owner story makes this click. 2 Ford F-250s on static straps couldn't pull a Jeep out of soft sand. A single F-150 with a Bubba rope ripped it out on the first try. Same vehicles, different physics. The verified history is wild too. Bubba rope grew out of expandable nylon sling rope the US military used to airlift Humvees by helicopter. Certified Slings took those military specs and built a civilian recovery version. It won the 2010 SEMA New Product Award for packaging design. The rope is double-braided nylon with double eye-spliced loops, a gatorized vinyl polymer coating that resists water, UV, and abrasion. Made and certified in the USA. However, attaching that rope to your Jeep with the wrong shackle could literally kill someone, and that's why number 4 exists in the first place. Locked into number 4 is the Bubba Rope Gator Jaw Soft Shackle, or its premium aluminum cousin, the Factor 55 Pro Link. Both live right there on Amazon. Both solve the same deadly problem. The Gator Jaw Pro runs about $40 to $60. It's made from plasma synthetic rope, weighs 6.5 ounces, breaks at 52,300 pounds, and floats in water. The Factor 55 Pro Link is machined from 6061-T6 aircraft aluminum in Boise, Idaho, with a 5/8 inch titanium pin, rated 16,000 pounds max load and 40,000 pounds at ultimate strength. Around $100 to $130. Why do these even exist? Because the open hook on the end of a standard winch line is one of the most dangerous pieces of equipment in off-roading. The little sheet metal safety latch on those hooks isn't actually load-bearing. It's only there to keep the line in place when there's no tension on it. The second a recovery line goes slack mid-pull, that hook can pop loose, and 10,000 pounds of stored energy in a stretched rope turns it into a steel projectile flying through the air. The Factor 55 Pro Link replaces that hook with a closed system. The pin can't escape the loop. The line stays locked in place. A soft shackle is even better. If it ever fails, it just falls limp on the ground. No flying metal anywhere on the trail. The Gator Jaw Pro won the 2015 SEMA Best New Off-Road Product Award for exactly this reason. Therefore, with the right rope and shackle finally locked in, you still need a toolkit that handles every fastener on a Jeep. Cracking into number 3 is the DeWalt 192-piece mechanics tool set. Model D WMT 75049, around $150. And before anyone says 192 pieces is overkill, the dirty secret of Jeep ownership is this. Jeeps mix SAE and metric fasteners across the entire vehicle. The JL Wrangler runs everything from 10mm to 36mm sockets, plus torque sizes most generic sets skip on purpose. A T55 holds your sway bar links. A T55 also bolts your track bar to the frame. Try fixing either with a regular socket, and you'll round the head off and turn a 20-minute job into a Saturday afternoon nightmare with a bolt extractor and a cold beer. The DWMT 75049 comes with 3 pair head ratchets in 1/4, 3/8, and 1/2-inch drives. SAE and metric 6-point sockets, both standard and deep. DeWalt's direct torque tech hits the sides of the fastener instead of the corners, which keeps you from rounding rusty bolts on a 10-year-old Wrangler that's lived through 5 winters and a million bumps. The set includes hex bits, Torx bit sockets like T40 and T45, spark plug sockets, and a hard case that survives the abuse of garage life, made from chrome vanadium steel. Garage Journal forum members repeatedly rank this set as the best all-in-one socket kit for the money, around $150. However, every tool in the world means nothing if you can't lift your Jeep high enough to use them, which is where the most respected and most feared piece of gear on this entire list takes over. At number 2 stands the high lift jack. The 48-inch cast and steel model, the HL484, around $90 to $120. Rated capacity 4,660 pounds, tested to 7,000, with a safety shear bolt that snaps before you exceed 7,000, just so you don't kill yourself in your own driveway. The history of this thing is wild. It was invented back in 1905 by Philip John Harrah in Bloomfield, Indiana, originally called the automatic combination tool. It became famous as the handyman jack, then the sheepherder's jack, and it's still made in that same Indiana town under the 5th generation of the Harrah family. In 2005, on the jack's 100th anniversary, the town of Bloomfield erected a 20-foot cast iron replica statue to mark the centennial. A small Indiana town built a giant statue of a jack because the tool is genuinely that important to American off-road history. The high lift lifts your Jeep 3 to 4 feet off the ground, way higher than a bottle jack ever could. High enough to stack rocks under a stuck tire, change a 37-inch tire on an angle, or break a tire bead off the wheel for a trail repair. It also doubles as a hand winch and a clamp spreader. The climbing pins are 125,000 pounds per square inch steel, tougher than the bolts on a bridge. But fair warning right here, this is the most dangerous tool on the whole list. The handle can kick back violently under load and break your jaw. Real off-roaders treat the high lift with absolute respect, and so should you. However, all the lifting power in the world won't help if your Jeep is shaking itself apart on the highway every time you hit 50. And the top spot, number 1, belongs to the Death Wobble Fix Kit. A premium steering stabilizer like the Bilstein 5100 or the Fox ATS, paired with a fresh track bar setup. Around $200 to $400 depending on brand and year of your Wrangler. And this is the category that separates owners who survive their Jeep from owners who trade it in after one ugly white-knuckle drive home. Death Wobble is the violent front-end shake that hits solid axle Wranglers and Gladiators at about 45 to 65 miles an hour. It's triggered by a bump, a highway seam, or a pothole, and it shakes the steering wheel so hard you literally can't hold on. Owners describe it as if the front axle is trying to rip itself off the frame. But the truth most YouTube videos refuse to say out loud is this: a steering stabilizer doesn't cure death wobble. It only hides the symptoms for a while. The real cause is loose or worn suspension parts. The number 1 culprit is the front track bar, especially its bushings and its axle side mount. After that, worn ball joints, sloppy tie rod ends, a tired drag link, or out-of-round tires throwing the whole front end into a violent shake at speed. A real fix means torquing your front end with the Tecton wrench from number 11, inspecting every joint with the DeWalt set from number 3, replacing the worn parts, then adding a premium stabilizer to take the last edge off. The Death Wobble fix isn't a single tool. It's the entire toolkit you just bought, working together as one connected system. That's why it sits at number 1, and that wraps the full 12. So now I want to hear from you. What's the one Jeep tool you couldn't live without? Or which one on this list are you adding to your garage next? Drop it in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe for more Jeep tips every week, and click the video on your screen right now for another guide that could save you thousands. I'll see you there.